Hi everybody, Justin from Utah Airguns, and we are here to do a special series on gear, competition gear specifically, where we're within the 3-month range of RMAC, and we wanted to break down a gear selection, what you might want to have to be more competitive in each discipline. So we're going to start with today for the Precision Series. We've got the winner from last year of that specific event, Boyd Lindor here. Boyd, you want to talk about our gear? Explain how'd you win with what you got and why and what gear did you use to do it?
I made some good choices in clutch moments, I guess, is what it comes down to. So precision rifle, again, we're trying to hit little bitty targets at various distances off of various barricades. So the gun setup is probably the first and foremost. This is the gun I shot last year. There's been a few changes to that, but with the same intent. The big thing for the gear or the gun itself is the balance point. So the changes that you've seen here compared to how it looked last year, the new Anvil Arca rail and the backbone, and that's really just designed to help give me the balance that I want. So when I'm sitting it on a prop, it'll sit where it wants to. I'm not impacting the movement of the gun nearly as severe, and that's what gives me the wobble zone. So this gun has kind of been modified to make that a little more friendly for this type of shooting. What we have here, this is the latest and greatest offering from FX, and this gun was designed from its inception to do all of those same things. So I don't have to go aftermarket and add all these extra parts, change things out to give me that balance point. But it's the balance point that's what I'm going for. I want to be able to set this on a barricade and have it sit still while pointed at the target. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the main purpose of the guns. This one again is a little more special built. I think the intent of this video is more about the accessory gear that I want to run or I want to have with me at all of these matches.
Yeah, I like that. And part of that, the balance thing. It's so big in this type of shooting. And the biggest thing for like a guy like me that doesn't transition position of business, like I'm 20 years old anymore, I like to be able to set my gun on the bag, on that barricade, and move. I can position myself, get comfortable, get on the gun, versus balancing, trying to get your bag set or get comfortable wherever you're at. So balance in this type of shooting is key, especially, that's just one circumstance why it's key in precision.
Right. On any barricade, we're shooting really small targets. And so when I'm into the gun, I'm imparting wobble. The less that I can affect that, the better I have a chance of hitting that target. Yeah. And so being able to set my gun down and have it sit and stay in the direction it's pointed is the key. So this rifle, again, was designed specifically for that. We do have a couple of other accessories that help that. This is a Mini Plate Pro. It just widens the footprint when I'm sitting on a bag. We've added weights to it, again, all in hopes of getting that rifle perfectly balanced front to back for our placement. So one of those next things that rifle is balanced on, this is an Armageddon Gear Shmedium Game Changer. This one is also customed out in black and gold, the UA colors.
Coolest one yet.
Oh yeah, by far the coolest one. Yeah. And I run the heavy fill. It settles down. When I set my rifle on there, it's sturdy and the rifle settles into that sand and again, helping maintain the position of that rifle. So that's a key component. Now when I'm running a barricade, I want this and it's placed under the gun here. That's where the gun's sitting. When I'm running a prone, another accessory I gotta have is a bipod, and this bag now becomes my rear bag, and I'm using that to manipulate the elevation of the rifle, again to keep me on target. The bipod is a pretty critical component. This one happens to be a SkyPod. This is what I run in all my PRS gear, and I picked this because it's so versatile. There's stronger bipods on the market. There's easier to operate bipods, but this one just gives me a huge range in height. I can go from pretty low, I can take this thing out very tall. So the bipod is a critical component for any prone style position, which we do shoot, not often, but we do shoot some prone positions. And also in some of the other where you're trying to get up over an obstacle, you could pull that bipod out tall and get behind the bipod. So the bag and the bipod are by far my most critical components of gear, accessories that I got to take with me to a match. Another one that I've often see overlooked is a pair of binoculars, spotting scope. This, to me, when I'm not shooting, when I'm currently not on a stage, on the clock, shooting a match, I'm looking through these. I'm looking downrange. I want to see what's going on. I want to see what the wind's doing. I want to identify all my targets, their locations. Part of this game's a mental game, and I see that, you know, if you're not preparing, looking, okay, there's a target, there's a target, there's a target, prior to when the timer goes beep, that's when we all lose it. So having a good pair of binos helps. These binos actually have a rangefinder built in and a ballistic solver built in. I don't generally use the ballistic solver in these style events, but having a rangefinder in there is a good thing just to confirm I got the same dope. Most of these matches are ranges provided. Justin, when he sets up RMAC, he's going to range those targets and provide those targets. His rangefinder might be slightly different than mine, a yard or two. I use mine because mine is calibrated to the gun that I'm shooting. But a pair of binos is a pretty important accessory if you want to take your game to the next level.
Yeah.
Which binos do you like?
I really like that Vortex Fury.
Yeah.
That's
so
a really
these are
good
the I think they're the AB ballistics. What is it? The Fury 5000s. Really good set of binos, and that gives you a rangefinder. It gives you the applied ballistics, which is just a ballistic solver. In some other forms of matches, I use that in my binos. In these ones, I run a separate. This is my Kestrel. This is probably the most. If I went to a match without this, I'd be toast.
Yeah, you would be toast.
Which is not a good thing. I recommend backing your stuff up with hard data. But this is how I get all my solutions. All my firing solutions start with this. And I have a gun profile set up into it, and that takes factors like muzzle velocity and height over bore, another good benefit of this Pantera. Projectile weight, twist rate, those kinds of things. You build a profile, and then with distance, I use this to determine what my firing solution is. And that will be different from stage to stage and target to target. Some stages might only have...
Which is why you use the Kestrel, is because of environment.
Oh, for sure.
Changing...
Yeah, so beyond a ballistic solver, so the Kestrel is actually a weather meter. Kestrel teamed up with Applied Ballistics and a few others, but Applied Ballistics is the one I use. And that takes my environmental conditions. So at RMAC, I don't know if any of you guys were at RMAC last year. I think on Precision Day, we had sustained winds of 20 to 25 miles an hour, and we were gusting 40 plus miles an hour. That's rapidly changing, and the temperature swings were going there too. The Kestrel weather meter keeps me in the loop of all of those changing conditions so that I can make an adjustment. I've seen a lot where a hard dope, you may have a hard dope and you go to a different environment and you're low or you're high just because of the changes in that environment. The temperature can affect it, the humidity can affect it, your altitude can affect it. So having this is a critical component. I absolutely love mine.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's to have live data.
Right. Right. In the
because-
moment, at the moment.
And it's fair to mention, like in those Vortex binos, they have applied ballistics, same ballistic software, but you still have to put in your input for that to work right.
Yeah, you've
and
got
it's
to
very accurate that way. But this is giving you that live input all the time and holds the data on the Kestrel itself. And I think it's fair to mention you did a video for us on our channel that goes through using the Kestrel and how to operate and why and how everything works and why it's a benefit. And it's a very good watch. If you have time, go to our YouTube channel, watch his video on the Kestrel. I learned a lot.
Yeah, I absolutely could not shoot a match, certainly on a very competitive level, without my Kestrel. This one's a 5700 Elite, which just gives you a lot of extra added features. I personally use it all the time. So another critical component is having a good system to get that dope for all of your stage designs. Once you have that dope, you got to have a way to manage it. This is a data card. I use a wet erase and I write down. So each stage I might have one target, I might have 10 targets or any other stage information. And I write down those solutions. And so target 1 might dial to X, target 2 might be another thing, target 3, so on and so forth. So I use this to manage that. This is literally just a wet erase card. I have some Velcro on the back, and right here you can see is just a method to attach that to my rifle. So it stays with me on the gun. If I get confused in the moment, I can look up and reference that data. I'm not a fan of memory. I don't have a good memory. Is your memory good?
Not great.
So I got to write things down to keep all of that intact for whatever my stage plan is.
Yeah. And I think you'll see this more at RMAC this year. The guys that do a lot of this type of shooting, a lot of people coming in from the competitive firearms world this year, and I guarantee you, every single one of them you're going to see running a Kestrel, and you're going to have them running a data card, and they're going to be checking data on every target in that stage, and they're going to put it in. They're going to have the solution, write it on their card, so it's right in front of their face. So, because somebody could tell me, yes, your first target you're going to have to go up 3.2. The next you're going to have to go 4.1. I'm not going to remember it, especially when that timer goes off and you're in that competitive mode and you're more worried about building your positions and all. There's no, I can't remember.
Data management is a critical component of a serious competitor in this game. And it goes, they all play off of each other. Again, I'm going to check the range with my binos. I'm going to confirm those. I'm going to do the solver with current updated environmental conditions. I'm going to write that down. And we're talking minutes before I go on stage because the environment can change that rapidly. And those changes are a miss. And you might not miss every target, but you miss one or two. Yeah. I don't want to give up those points. So data management is a very critical component for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
One other thing that I think is a necessity when you get into the long range. So this is a Senate level. I don't know if you can see it very well. It has little LED lights on it. Excuse me. And that tells me if my gun is level. So this mounts to a Picatinny rail here, and it's always in my vision. Having my gun level when I fire that shot, and I've dialed my scope up, or I'm holding up in my reticle, is a critical component. About a 1%, or 1 degree, I'm sorry, out of level will constitute a miss with these air guns, it probably as close as 100 yards. Maybe even beyond that if you have a pretty bad trajectory. So having my gun level is absolutely critical. Every single shot, I'm checking this level. These ones are super nice and easy because they're flashy, and for a guy like me, it jumps out right in my face and it tells me to pay attention. They make other ones that are standard. Some of the chassis have them built in. you can mount spirit levels to your scope in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
But having a level is critical.
Well, and the thing that I've found most handy about this level is if you don't have great eyesight as well,
Yeah.
a bubble level can be difficult
Yeah.
to see. And the nice thing about this is they're big, they're bright, and so you can be doing it in your peripheral all the time. So when you're positioning, you can still see like, okay, my level's green, I'm ready to shoot.
Right.
Versus having to like figure out your,
Yeah.
come off and look at your bubble level and
Well, an instant react too.
Yeah.
Like these things are, the spirit levels sometimes are a little bit slow, and you think like it's not that slow. Like could that really affect it? Well, some of these stages, and if we're shooting, 10, if we have 10 shots in 10 positions, and you're a 2-minute stage, that's 12 seconds per shot.
Jeez.
And that means you got to break your position, build a new position, get level, squeeze off the shot. So microseconds count, and they all add up over that time. I might not miss all of those, but that might give me the opportunity to take that very last shot. So,
Well, and fair to note, it could be the difference between you being tied 3 ways for first place
Yeah.
versus timed stages. A lot of that is used for a tiebreaker
Yeah.
because you have all these guys that maybe run those courses the same. They all have 100% hits, but somebody did it
a little bit
a
faster.
millisecond faster
Yeah.
than the other guy. He wins.
Yeah. And that happens. That's why they have tiebreaker stages designed. So that's just another helpful tool to get that little bit of advantage. Because that's what when we're competing on a high level, it's the little tiny advantages that make the difference, that separate the top guys.
Yeah. And we've talked all about ultra competitiveness. What does a guy have to have, say that, maybe they can't spring for a $500 Kestrel at the time or that type of stuff? What's some of the ways they can still come compete, be very competitive, but
Yeah.
if you're limited on gear, what would you say your
So there's a lot of ways that you can do. You can save quite a bit, right? So some absolutes, I would say you got to have a good bipod and you got to have a good bag. And it doesn't have to be this bipod. A regular, basic, inexpensive bipod will work. But you need a bipod and you need a good bag. Beyond that,
don't scrimp on your bag.
don't scrimp on your
Do
bag.
not scrimp on your
It
bag.
makes
Just buy that bag. I promise you.
Yeah, I've never met a competitor that said, "Oh shoot, I wish I wouldn't have bought that."
Yeah.
It just the bags are phenomenal. Tom makes good gear. That bag has gave me more impacts than anything else I've ever purchased in this. So a good bag is a good start. I have several. The Shmedium is good. It's the middle, hence the name Shmedium. Occasionally I'll run a bigger bag if you're in like the crook of a tree or something, a round rock where you need a little more height. But the Shmedium is just, that should be a no-brainer.
Usually really good all around.
Yeah, everybody in any kind of precision rifle shooting should own a Shmedium. But things like this, there's so many free apps. Like literally you can download an app on your phone. Now you're going to give up some things. You're going to give up the weather meter. But if you're shooting a match with me, ask me. I'll tell you what the temperature is and what the wind speed is. And you're going to find other guys like that in all of these matches.
Yeah.
So you can get weather data. Most of these apps, Straylock Pro or Geoballistics, you can link those to a nearby weather station. It'll get you in the ballpark, but literally download for free. And even if you buy like the pro versions, I think they're pretty inexpensive,
Yeah.
$10, $12 or something, maybe $20 for some of the more expensive ones. But you got to have a good solver of some sort. So that's a big money saver right there.
And you touched on a little bit too when you mentioned the mental game. If you don't have a high-end Kestrel or weather meter of some sort or wind meter, the best way you can find out is watch the rest of the competition.
Yeah.
Watch those guys shooting before you and find out, like, hey, are they trending?
Yeah.
Are they trending extra mil left or high or low
Right.
than they should be right now? Or, pay attention to where they're impacting. Especially their first shots. Pay attention to those.
Yeah.
Because those first shots, if they push off and they miss, you already know.
Yeah.
All right, I need to take whatever my data says and compensate.
Add to
just
it or
add
take
a little bit more. So,
and that comes to the bino. So these are rather expensive binoculars, and they have all that fancy stuff. You don't need all of that. You don't need a rangefinder. You don't need a ballistic solver in here, especially if you have some kind of app that you're getting your data from. But having even an inexpensive pair of binos so that I can watch downrange. I learn more from everybody else shooting than from my own shots, right? I'm in a squad of 8 or 10 or 12 people. That's a whole lot of rounds. That's 100 rounds I get to watch on a stage to give me information compared to the 10 shots that I take. So watching what's going on, and whether it's a pair of binos or a spot and scope, a lot of that stuff can be had for very inexpensive costs. Yeah. So you could definitely save in that regard. Same thing with the levels, right? These are a little more pricey than some of the more inexpensive options. You could go with a spirit level. It doesn't matter what the cost of your level is, as long as it's level before you take the shot.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
You could save quite a bit of money there and get one of the little spirit levels that goes on your scope. I think you could probably pick them up for $20-$30 or maybe $50 or something. This, you don't need this. Like, this is a Coltac. They call this the cheat sheet. You don't need that. Like, you can literally go buy a bungee, a little, what do they call those little?
Like a hair tie.
Yeah. And you can take a business card or a piece of paper and write down on it and stick it on there, put an alligator clip on there. I see that a lot. And they're really nice because you can take that off and give it to your buddy. You can use one for 2 or 3 or 4 of you. So,
but all of this is really nice. It makes it, having to try to rig something up, they've thought of it and made you a really convenient solution.
Yeah.
It's nice. So do you have to have it? No. Is it nice
helpful?
To have?
Yes, absolutely. So. The only things I think you got to have is your bag has got to be, you got to be a bag. That's point one. And then just your rifle good and zeroed and a good profile, and then build some kind of ballistic solution out.
Practice, practice, practice.
Oh yeah.
Know what your gun does.
More rounds down range.
The Kestrel can tell you there's 5 miles an hour wind, but if you don't know what your gun does in 5 miles an hour wind.
Yeah. Because we're true in that information.
Yeah.
We're true in this. This is still just a best guess. And wind is the great equalizer, so that's your best guess, but true in that information. But the best accessory that I think you could probably buy is more ammunition. More projectiles, more slugs, more pellets. Rounds downrange are the most valuable tool and resource that you could use. You're going to learn more from that than any app or the fanciest guns or the fanciest gear will ever teach you.
Yep, for sure. That's the tips for the precision shooting courses, the Precision Marksman event. Hopefully you implement that and you get to see real results, and hopefully this video helped. And we'll come at you next time. Maybe we'll cover either bench rest or speed next, and we'll go over what can make you more competitive in those events, and hopefully you learned something. Watch for the next ones, and thanks for watching. Please check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that, UtahAirguns.com, and watch for what's next.